Before we get to joy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Amy, and what led you to this journey?
Well, it's been a life journey, really. I, for most of my life, I really have been reaching for just understanding about life, really. When I think about even back to, from the time I was a child, super sensitive child and aware of everything and just life around me, trying to make heads or tails of things, just wondering why things were the way they were, and why often, although I was being taught and trained like everyone else about life, it never really resonated with me, didn't make sense to me at that time. And that was kind of the theme throughout my life. I became a teacher in my late 20s. My early 20s, I went to university and then decided to become a teacher. And from that time forward, I um, really, I would say, was on my like more of a conscious path of wanting to make a difference, recognizing that um, just that teaching would be a platform for me to work with kids and just to teach them about life and encourage them, and really a desire for them to discover their authenticity. I recognize in looking back that that's really what I was reaching for, and didn't really find it in the school system as a kid, just kind of fumbled through and tried to navigate during changing times. And um, when I got into the education program, it was like a fish to water. I excelled, and through that process, I just became more aware of my passion for what I would call universal principles, and meaning just some law based understanding about how life works. And when I think about it now, too, the other thing that was happening in my childhood background was my mom was very much passionate about universal law based teachings and information at that time, whether it was A Course in Miracles or Edgar Cayce or some of the uh, great thinkers of that time. She would have lots of books on her shelf, and she would be involved in things. Reiki and group studies and all that kind of stuff. And I thought that was just the most interesting thing ever, and noticed that most others weren't doing that. And so I enjoyed kind of hanging out and around during her meetings and so on, and then spending time in her library reading as I got older and so on. So it was always part of, as I say, part of my, I think, unique movement forward in just the being that I am. So that all of this is in retrospect. Looking back, I can see all the pieces of the puzzle or everything that lines up the way it always does. But of course, never really recognized it while it was unfolding. And and then it just continued through life circumstances and changes. So I, uh, Getting into the Faculty of Education was really a turning point for me. As I say, I wanted to make a difference in children's lives, but mostly I recognize in looking back that it has been my own journey, my own personal journey of self discovery. And my teaching time of almost 30 years was this amazing platform to discover self. And in that time period, I created incrementally um, a program called The Journey Within. And it wasn't, I say I created it, but it wasn't created in that way. It was my teaching inspiration, I guess you could say, that came through in the classroom. And it was all life skills based. And woven into the curriculum, teaching kids about self, about authenticity whenever I had the chance, and making it relevant to what they were learning. And over time, I put it down on paper and so on, and that spanned the whole course of my career. And during that time, it was always shown to me what the next step should be, and the next one, and the next one, in terms of my creation of materials. I just always taught in a certain way from a certain lens that I thought everyone did, but I recognized later that I truly was a pioneer in that area of teaching kids information that wasn't in the curriculum. And so I began to put it down on paper, and over time, it became a program incrementally and was published, and then continued to evolve and transform, and became what it is today, which is an adult version as well of universal law based authentic self, life skills, material. And in a nutshell, that's been my journey through my young adult years. My teaching career came to fruition or close when I retired, and COVID came to be, and a significant life change, a move to New Brunswick, Canada, from Toronto, Ontario, where I spent my entire life. Moved to New Brunswick, and my journey continued from there. My materials continued to evolve. I met wonderful people who I resonated with, and created a workshop with, or for, and during that time, my own expression of my energy flow continued to expand, and became well, going back, I left out a piece of the material unfolding, which was, it was always during times of reception, meaning times of quiet, times where I was giving myself reiki or journaling. The ideas for the journey within would just sort of flow through, and this is the way it always came. But I wasn't aware that I was receiving a program, or even interpreting in that way. It just seemed natural to me that the ideas were there, and I always were able to put together the pieces. And so, uh, coming forward, at the beginning of my retirement, I began to meditate. And it was during that time that my reception showed itself in a new way, which was reception of body movements and adjustments during meditation, being able to see energy in a new way, visually, and um, and then once arriving in New Brunswick, I continued all my practices. And that's when the conversations with joy, this next juncture of the journey, unfolded, where I was able to receive through channel in this way that we're sharing with you today. When I arrived in New Brunswick, I had no idea that I would be able to interpret this collective the way that I can now, and was incremental in its unfolding, like my reception through writing has been. And it's just been this amazing awareness, as I say, looking back rather than knowing what's going to happen uh, as I move forward. Um, we settled here, and once I was able to receive through channel during a variety of circumstances and situations, I was had the good fortune of meeting Vicky Benoit, and she found conversations with joy through her own I guess, just interest in asking and came upon it. And we connected and shared, and she was interested in the material. And then that part has unfolded incrementally as well, where she is now a facilitator and business partner with me in Conversations with Joy. And now we are in a new phase again with the material, and with just having the desire really for fun, mostly to share our lived experiences, because that's really what it's about. Just embodying our unique journeys, and then recognizing that we have skills that come together in a way that can offer others um, an opportunity just to know our lived experiences as well. Before I begin, just letting the audience know that it takes me a moment or two to connect with Joy. And you will notice that I will quiet my mind. I'll go into a meditative state, and you'll from there my body will be adjusted, so all movements and so on that you see will be guided, and then the collective will say we are here when I've connected. Ready, Vicki?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Yes, we are here.
Hi, Joy. It's nice
Yes.
to talk to you again.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a good time for a conversation with you and do a little video? For people who don't know you, Joy, can you tell us who you are and how this came to be?
Oh, well, yes. Mm, mm, Amy has explained, well, in a nutshell, really, her unique journey to self in this way. Oh, yes, she has been on this journey. All, well, her physical um, incarnation and before, dear friends. This is an area of interest for this one. Yes, an area of expertise, passion. When we say this one, yes, we are mm, speaking of the physical being that you see here. However, we are talking broader, dear friend, from her whole self, from her authentic self, from the blended being that she is, meaning it has eternally been an area of interest for her. She is incarnated at this time period, and really, dear friend, for the interest in fun of it, because it is a time of awakening, is it not? A time where she can express who she is, and um, in a comfortable way, you could say, dear friend, where others are also expressing their unique abilities, passions, and interests, like this one here, Vicky. And timing is always precise, isn't it? And Her journey, mm, her childhood was, there was much contrast, dear friend. She was in an environment that created discordant feelings within her. It was not a happy-go-lucky childhood of frivolous, free beingness. It was a time of confusion and asking is a good way to say it, to created an atmosphere for this one to ask, what is it all about? And this was the beginning. Oh, well, yes, she has explained. She did not always know by any means that she would be an educator at all. This came about because there was an absence of fulfillment within her that she could not put a finger on, but could not fill it, could not find a fit for herself, could not feel herself in the environments that she was placed in, whether it be school or other places really as well. But school was dominant because it was where she spent most of her childhood years, as all do. And oh, well, this was precise. Again, dear friend, nothing is by accident. And so she was not a student by any means. She did not understand most of what was being taught because she didn't care, dear friends. It was not information that resonated with her. And so she was mostly elsewhere. She was there physically, but she left her body often, dear friend, we assure you. Oh, well, and she decided much later, she left school at 18 and decided to work on a cosmetics counter in downtown Toronto. And this she thought was going to be her profession. Well, and we had bigger plans, didn't we, dear friend? And she spent a year there and again created much asking within her. She knew it wasn't where she should be, but was a necessary step in her knowing that, oh, well, must be more for me than this. And she married young at 20. And when she married the next few months, she said, guess what? I want to go back to school. And she did. She went to university as a mature student and did a 1 year arts and then applied to get into education. And she got in, dear friend. And again, this was a precise. It was not an easy feat to be accepted into education during the late early 80s. What universal forces were waiting for her to show up there. She didn't even really know how to write an essay properly when she entered university, but she discovered her intelligence there. And then once she got into education, she knew why she was there. She looked to the children and she wanted with all her heart to let them know that they were unique, that they were good, and that they were important. And she got her fulfillment from sitting and talking with them. Never mind the curriculum, she got it done. She excelled at her job. Boy, the life force was about her talking with the kids about life and about love and friendship and well-being and how they could find their way forward amidst all the information that was being bombarded upon them and so on. Well, during this time, she recognized her methodologies were unique, but was much later, dear friend, that she realized that it was inspired. She was being inspired every moment in the classroom. She just knew what to do, even with the most challenging cases. Well, these little ones were just little ones, but the labels of the education system deemed good and bad and all kinds of stuff that she recognized was not the case. And her methodologies, well, they were life changing for these little ones who were spent most of their time in the office the year prior. And her journey of capturing her inspired connection began there, and she taught in a certain way that allowed the children to thrive. And it wasn't until much later that she began to put it on paper. Many situations and circumstances had to come about, dear friends, not to force her, but to slow her down and get her to connect in a new way. And she went through a period of 4 years of sabbatical, where she remained at home. This wasn't by choice, because she was a worker bee. She never stopped, not one time. She wanted to do the best that she could for the kids, and her commitment to her teaching and so on. But she ran her physicality into a state of discord, and required attention for a period of time. And during that time, dear friend, she sat, this is decade more than that, before knew anything about meditation and so on. Just knew that she was different and unique, but didn't put the pieces together quite yet. But during this 4 year sabbatical, she raised her children, but from a different lens. She had to stay home for the first time ever, and during that time, she rested and began to receive, dear friend. And she journaled, and the work she had been upon when she left teaching continued. And during that time, she began the journey within. Not beknownst to her. She just recorded down her ideas, and the title Journey Within came through journal. And well, at the time she decided, much to her chagrin, really had no idea she was going to write a thing. But she felt to sit down at the computer, and she began to put some of her ideas in the classroom down, and so on, dear friend. It goes on and on. What during this time period, this is where the journey within was born, born out of contrasting times once again. Not easy times, dear friend, but times of requiring this one to go within. She was an outward focused being up in um, her early 20s, all her 20s. She achieved the heights of which she never expected to achieve in her schooling and career, because she, as we said, was looking for validation of self outside self. Wanting recognition of those around her to say you're good, you're enough. Look at you, you are all that we thought maybe you weren't. And those validation that we seek, we meaning all, are taught and trained to seek from others, dear friend. This was not her journey to remain there like many do. It was the beginning of, as we said, a going within, her bumping up against situations that required her to quiet down. And she is hearing this for the first time in this way, dear friend, because she knows her journey, but it has been very personal and private, and has only been able to be understood by her by looking back. Mm, mostly, although looking back all the way along. Um, this time period of reception um, allowed her to build a program for children, for teachers, to teach the child about life skills that weren't in the curriculum, but she hadn't labeled it anything, wasn't allowed to use any wording like universal laws and so on, wasn't even aware that really that she was even teaching that. She just knew that this information was coming to her and it was changing her life and then those around her. This was part of her unique becoming because she had to apply this reception along the way, dear friend. It was not a head game. It was a heart game. It was an embodiment of the energy being that she was becoming in a visceral way that she could eventually um, integrate enough to be able to teach in a new way. And this is what is coming about now. Um, the program was used once published. There was a publisher back then, character development group. His name was Phil Vincent. He was in the States, in Greensboro, North Carolina. Well, she had dozens of manuscripts of the journey within by then, and had no idea what to do with any of it, but was just following true north about putting it down, putting it down. And she came across a resource of a friend of hers, and she had borrowed. It was on character development. Was a teacher resource, and Amy borrowed it one day, and then it got packed in a box somewhere when she moved, and. In the moving and unpacking, she came across it because her friend said, "Hey, where's my book?" And she pulled it out of her box and turned it over and saw Greensboro, North Carolina, Character Development Group. And when she saw that address, she knew that was where to send her material. Oh, well, how did she know? Well, it was reception, dear friend. She had handled countless resources all the way along, but she called and they said, "Well, we get many, but send it along. How big is it?" Well, they said, "Oh my goodness, all right, send it." It was 3 volumes. And long story short, they received, and this man was well, dear friend, he was a pioneer of his time. He saw the essence of what she was attempting to do at that time. He saw the value in the life skills in between, squeezing in between the curriculum. He was an educational publisher with a focus on well-being, but this was next level. However, it was a set of activities, and he said, "Well, we will publish this." And there was a primary, junior, intermediate volume, but it came forward and it was activities for teachers, but well, she continued on with her life. She returned back to school full time, and guess what? No one knew what to do with it. It was a bunch of activities that worked for her. It was the beginning of her journey, but when she showed others, they didn't have the embodiment that was required to put it into any kind of context. Oh, well, years later, she bought back the rights, and um, she realized that the essence of what she was attempting to teach hadn't arrived yet. It was activities, but how do you use it? What does it mean? She didn't know yet. It was about the laws that she later on received. And the years that followed, dear friend, all through the 2000s, she received incrementally, again through journaling, the life skills. And she looked at her published books, she opened them up, and she was guided to what is it, the themes here? What is this? again, she was not privy to her journey before it happened, not one time ever, dear friend. She only just took the next step and next step. And one day she looked at them all and she just saw the relation. She saw the connections. She saw the seven life skills. And these seven life skills, she recognized over time were universal law based. And she could see their value, their importance. Many other things came into focus for her, and so on. And she created a whole new program and integrated some of those activities that had been published, and met up with other colleagues who helped her to create lesson plans for a teacher program that is unmatched, really, dear friend, in its essence of forward movement. But this was not her long-term journey. She completed the teacher's material, and it is there waiting for the generation coming to scoop it up and use it. Um, she was the only one, we assure you, during this time that ever spoke about intuition to the children or anything else law based. Um, and now it is much more commonplace, is it not? Well, mm, as Amy described, her life continued to move forward and evolve. One marriage ended, another chapter began, and mm, she continued to write, to revise, to follow guidance, to embody her own understandings of the laws. And as she said, during COVID, she moved to a cottage for 2 years in the North Kawarthas of Ontario, and where their cottage was. But she was mostly alone, dear friend, with her dog, and spent 2 years in the forest, and in meditation. And dear friend, she was tuned, and this is the piece that Amy didn't describe. Um, because it is so incremental and so unknown to her in its own methodology until looking back. She was precisely where she needed to be. And during that 2 years, she continued to create, but mostly it was inner work. And then COVID brought her to New Brunswick, Canada, where her marriage ended, and her next chapter began, which was the reception in this way that you see now. This unfolded again incrementally. It had begun in the North Kawarthas when she would sit to meditate, and her body was adjusted and adjusted and adjusted, and she knew that the energy was flowing, and she trusted it because it was so incremental. And by the time she got to New Brunswick, well, she precisely met someone named Carol, who was a friend, became a friend, not a friend yet, but understood the law-based material that she was about, and she was able to begin to speak in this way with another who could receive what was witness it, so to speak, and it evolved from there. And this past 4 years in New Brunswick, well, her life is expanded and changed tremendously, and her reception of the collective that is us is being revealed to her incrementally, dear friend. We assure you, she is learning along the way every time she goes into this connection of reception um, about us and about her and in her own unique journey. And as she described, Conversations with Joy has only begun. Her journey here in New Brunswick allowed her to meet specific others, including Vicky, who recognized in her unique journey that the journey within the material was resonant with her unique journey, and so the two became a friend and but long time cohorts in this um, authentic journey that they were both individually on, dear friend, and now are working together in this next project of movement forward. And the journey within is, as we said, it's about embodiment. It's about Amy's specific, unique soul signature. This is what our work is about. It's about teaching through the clarity of example. Example meaning witnessing what embodiment looks like. It is different for all. This is her unique offering. But it's a demonstration of what it means to be embodied, what it means to be authentic. Authentic means that you are you are you eternally. You are forever. You are the energy signature that you are is like your fingerprint in the physical. There is not another the same, and this is the same when you are in your essence, which is consciousness as well, flowing through you. It is you, and her work is about her own discovery of this. Not more than that, dear friend. We remind her of this when she becomes too serious about the work, because it has been such a intense, integral part of the whole of who she is. But it is about really the joy of discovery, of self-discovery, that this is about, and wanting to share this journey with others. This is what her asking is, and we are, you could say, a collection of cohorts as well, and non-physically speaking. We are consciousness. We are here with her right now, flowing, and you can see that we are moving her, we are speaking through her. This is how all things are, dear friend. It is a blended state, not one or the other. And we have a similar same interests, because she is us and we are her, meaning she is part of our team, non-physically speaking. And our interest is about law-based information. Laws meaning universal principle laws, laws that govern the universe. And as we said, teaching through the clarity of example. Her work is about embodiment. It is not about theorizing anything. It's about living. It's her work is about her life is her work. Not her work was her life. Her work was not able to come from her. The work had to come from her attunement to it. This is key here. She must had to chose to allow tuning every step of the way in order to receive the next information coming forward, to interpret it. Like all things, she was able to interpret it, but not until she was ready, vibrationally speaking. And this is what she is passionately interested in, not only experience herself, but to then share. with others, dear friend. And